We're here because free speech is under attack. We're here because people are being convinced that socialism works. We're here because people are being judged guilty until proven innocent. We are fighting back with facts. This is not a safe zone, so buckle up, Buttercup. This is the raw, naked truth.
The New Hampshire primaries are in the books. Democratic Socialists are bleeding cash and more. Welcome to the Raw Naked Truth. I'm your host, Eric Lopkin, and here's the news you need to know. Former President Donald Trump won New Hampshire's first-in-the-nation presidential primary on Tuesday, beating former South Carolina Governor Nikki Haley in what political analysts had considered her last and best chance to slow his march to the Republican nomination. Trump, who also dominated last week's Iowa caucuses, now turns to the February primary in Haley's deeply conservative home state, hoping a blowout in South Carolina will wrap up the nomination. Biden wasn't on the Democratic ballot due to the DNC denying New Hampshire its legal place as the first-in-the-nation primary and deciding to give that place to South Carolina. But he easily beat lesser-known Democrats after an organized write-in effort. Biden campaigned on abortion rights on Tuesday in Virginia instead of being in New Hampshire at his first 2024 political rally. Biden slammed former President Trump, his likely opponent in November, for the overturning of Roe v. Wade, the Supreme Court decision that protected abortion rights for half a century by a conservative majority expanded with Trump's 3 appointees. Donald Trump is betting you won't vote on this issue, Biden said. Well, guess what? I'm betting he's wrong. The rally took place in a state where Democrats won control of the legislature last year in a campaign centered on abortion access. A dozen protesters interrupted Biden's speech with shouted criticism of his handling of the Israel-Hamas war in Gaza. Supreme Court Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg warned repeatedly that Roe v. Wade was bad case law and would be overturned unless ratified by Congress. Despite numerous opportunities to do so, the Democrats preferred not to ratify the decision, instead using the threat of Roe v. Wade being overturned as a campaign fundraising issue. The Democratic Socialists of America, the far-left group that includes Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez and other squad members, is staring down a significant financial crisis. They are bleeding cash and facing a $2 million deficit that has forced some leaders to put forth a drastic proposal to protect its bottom line. We will cut $500,000 from staff-related expenses, a proposal propelled by individuals on its National Political Committee said. We will first ask for volunteers from both director-level and bargaining unit staff to have their position cut and receive severance. If necessary, we will then explore initiating layoffs according to the union's contract. Representative Richie Torres, a New York Democrat who has been a harsh critic of the Democratic Socialists, expressed his content with recent reports that suggest the DSA's debts have reached the 7-figure mark. The DSA is collapsing in real time under the weight of its own anti-Semitism and extremism, he told The Sun on Monday. It's fair to say that I will not be mourning its death or attending its funeral. U.S. forces carried out strikes Tuesday against Iran-backed militias in western Iraq near the Syrian border in a direct response to escalatory attacks against the U.S. and coalition allies in Iraq and Syria, Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin said. The strikes targeted the headquarters, training locations, and weapons storage facilities of the Kataib Hezbollah militia, blamed for a Saturday attack on a major base in Iraq. U.S. Central Command said at least 4 U.S. service members were injured in that attack. A senior Iraqi official called the U.S. strikes a flagrant violation of Iraq's sovereignty. The fighting, like strikes against Houthi rebels in Yemen, underscored how the Gaza war threatens to trigger broader conflicts. The S&P 500 closed at a record high for a third straight day on Tuesday. The S&P 500 rose 0.3% to 4,864.60 cents, and the tech-heavy Nasdaq rose 0.4% as investors digested a wave of earnings reports and anticipated more, including from electric vehicle maker Tesla later in the week. Netflix's surge following an unexpectedly large subscriber gain last quarter helped keep a tech rally going. It's a crescendo of reports tomorrow and Thursday, and then next week will be even busier, said Art Hogan, chief market strategist at B. Riley Wealth. We've got a lot of things to contemplate. The Los Angeles Times announced Tuesday it had started laying off at least 115 employees, more than 20% of the newsroom. The cuts are among the largest ever at the 143-year-old newspaper. The LA Times Guild protested the looming layoffs with a first-ever newsroom walkout. The Times owner, Dr. Patrick Soon-Shiong, said the staff reduction was necessary because the paper couldn't continue losing up to $40 million a year without bringing in more money from advertising and subscriptions. Matt Pierce, president of the Media Guild of the West, which includes the Times Union, said Tuesday was a dark day and departments across the newsroom would be heavily hit, although the number of layoffs is lower than the bargaining committee had feared. Layoffs also hit eBay, which plans to cut 9% of its full-time workers as it tries to boost performance in the face of increasing competition and weakening customer spending. The online marketplace is cutting about 1,000 employees and scaling back contracts with other workers. eBay had 11,600 employees globally, including 6,800 in the United States at the end of 2022, up from 10,800 a year earlier. Our overall headcount and expenses have outpaced the growth of our business, said the CEO. We need to better organize our teams for speed, allowing us to be more nimble. That's the Raw Naked Truth. You can catch every episode of The Raw Naked Truth at xvadio.com, the Apple Podcasts app, Google Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Audible, Amazon Music, and other platforms that respect freedom of speech. We'll see you next time.